Have you ever wondered what it actually means for an animal to be functioning normally? We often recognize something as abnormal because we know that it is different from what we expect. But before you can understand what is wrong with an animal, you first need to understand how that animal normally works. That is where physiology begins. In this module, we're going to build the foundation for understanding how an animal functions, how its different parts work together, and how the body continues to maintain conditions necessary for life. Physiology is the study of the functions and processes of living organisms. In simple terms, physiology asks, what does the body do, how does it do it, and how do its different activities work together? This is slightly different from anatomy. Anatomy focuses primarily on structure, what is present and where it is located. Physiology focuses on function, what those structures do and how they work. The two are closely connected because structure provides the basis for function. So when you study physiology, you are moving beyond simply identifying a structure and beginning to understand what that structure actually does. So what is veterinary physiology? The basic principles of physiology are shared across living organisms, but animals are not physiologically identical. A dog, horse, pig, chicken, and fish may all need to maintain appropriate body conditions, obtain energy, and exchange gases, but they may accomplish these functions through different structures and mechanisms. Even within the same species, physiological values can vary with factors such as age, body size, activity, and physiological state. This is why physiological findings should always be interpreted in context. Why should you care as a vet student? Because knowing how the animal body works normally helps you spot when something's wrong. If an animal has a fast heartbeat, high temperature, deranged lab results, or different urine output, that clue alone won't tell you the cause. You must first understand how things in the body should work. Only then you can figure out what went off track and why. That's why physiology is key to thinking like a clinician. An animal's body isn't just a group of separate organs. It's built in layers, each one adding to the next. Molecules help cells work. Cells join to make tissues. Tissues combining to organs, organs team up as organ systems. And all systems together make a living animal. With each new level, more complex tasks become possible. This step-by-step structure matters because a shift at one level can affect another. So understanding how animals work means looking at both the parts and how they interact. At the foundation of these physiological processes are functional molecules. Different molecules perform different jobs, but together they make cellular and physiological function possible. Water provides an important medium for reactions and transport. Electrolytes contribute to electrical and regulatory processes. Proteins perform functions such as catalysis, transport, signaling, structure, and contraction. Carbohydrates provide important metabolic fuel. Lipids contribute to membranes, energy storage, and signaling. And nucleic acids provide and help express biological information. You do not need to memorize these molecules as an isolated list. What matters is understanding why they are important. Now we come to one of the most important ideas in physiology: homeostasis. Homeostasis refers to the regulation of the internal environment so that physiological conditions remain within ranges compatible with normal function. It is important to understand that homeostasis does not mean that everything in the body stays perfectly constant. The body is constantly changing. Heart rate changes with activity, blood glucose changes with feeding and energy use, and body temperature can change with environmental conditions. Homeostasis means that these variables are continuously regulated within appropriate limits. Imagine an animal exposed to a hot environment. Its body temperature begins to rise. That change can be detected by receptors. Information is processed by an integrating center, which coordinates an appropriate response. Effectors then produce changes that increase heat loss and help move body temperature back towards appropriate range. The important point is that homeostasis is a feedback process. The body detects a change, responds to that change, and uses the response to help regulate the physiological variable. Most of the body's control systems use negative feedback. In this process, the body reacts to reverse a change. For instance, when an animal eats, its blood sugar goes up. This rise triggers the release of insulin. Insulin helps cells absorb and store glucose, bringing blood sugar back down. As blood sugar drops, the signal for insulin gets weaker, so the response gradually shuts off, balancing the system. Positive feedback works the opposite way. It doesn't stop a change, it makes it stronger. It is useful when a physiological process needs to continue toward a defined endpoint, such as the progression of uterine contractions during parturition or giving birth. So the simplest distinction is this: negative feedback opposes a change, while positive feedback amplifies a change. No single organ can keep the body balanced on its own. The heart and blood vessels carry nutrients and other materials. The lungs handle oxygen and carbon dioxide. The kidneys manage water and salts. The brain, nerves, and hormones help control body functions. Other systems pitch in as needed. All these parts constantly work together to keep the body's inner conditions stable. What happens if the regulation fails? One physiological process can affect another. For instance, impaired regulation of body water can cause changes in fluid volume, electrolytes, circulation, and cellular function. The body can often compensate for a disturbance, but a persistent or severe deviation can overwhelm the regulatory mechanisms, resulting in dysfunction. That is why physiology is so crucial to studying diseases. You need to understand how things work in healthy animals to be able to appreciate what is wrong in sick animals. And as you begin general veterinary physiology, remember that it is not simply a collection of facts about individual organs. It is the study of how the animal functions as an integrated system. As you move into the succeeding units, keep asking the same questions. What is happening? How does it happen? How is it regulated? And how does it contribute to the functioning animal?